Well, I can't believe we are at this stage already. I am getting ready to share curriculum choices for my rising 11th grader for the 2023-2024 homeschool year. Hey guys, and welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome to my channel. My name's Abby, and I'm a homeschooling mom of two high school age students. And I can't believe that they're both in high school, despite the fact one drives and the other is taller than me now. But time, right? It just flies on by. Anyways, here on my channel, I like to share about all things home and garden, mom life, and of course, homeschooling, with a particular focus on homeschooling through the high school years. As my own kids were hitting the high school ages, I noticed that the number of resources online and the number of YouTube channels that talked about homeschooling in high school just kind of seemed to dry up. There just weren't a lot of homeschooling families sharing their journey on YouTube. And so I started this channel in hopes of trying to help fill that void a little bit by sharing our own homeschooling journey. Now, today I wanted to go over the curriculum choices we had made for my rising 11th grader for the 2023-2024 school year. Now, at the time that this video is going up, we're actually still in our current school year, our 2022-2023 school year. So you might wonder why I'm sharing it so early. Well, part of the reason is that I simply have made all of my choices. I have all of our curriculum for next year picked out. In fact, almost everything has already arrived, and I have it on hand ready to go for next year. I've been homeschooling for long enough now that I feel really confident in how to look at where my kids are at in the current year. Where are they having success? Where are they struggling? How is that curriculum working for them? I have two students with very different interests and very different learning styles. And so what works for one student may not necessarily work for the other, even though they're only one grade apart and they might be taking a very similar subject. The curriculum may have to change to work for that particular student's learning style. And that is one of the nice things about homeschooling, is that I can make those changes as they're needed. The other reason I wanted to share early was to give you plenty of time to do your own research. I don't expect any of you to take my suggestions and just run with them all, because what worked for my students may not work for yours. In fact, I highly encourage you to do your own research on each one. One of my favorite free resources online is Kathy Duffy Reviews, and I will link that website down below. You can go on there, and there is information and reviews on hundreds of different curriculum choices from all different kinds of publishers on all different subjects for all different grade levels. It provides really concise information on how different programs are set up, the types of things they cover, and thoughts are on them, good or bad. And I've found her reviews to be some of the fairest that I've seen on the internet and some of the most accurate that I've seen online. So I would recommend definitely checking out that site before you make any curriculum purchases. I also wanted you to have the ability to keep an eye open for sales on curriculum you might be interested in. A lot of curriculum publishers will have sales in the spring and summer months, and this way you can take advantage of those. And if you're like me, I like to have my curriculum on hand somewhat early, so I have a chance as the teacher to look it over, get familiar with it, and come up with a rough schedule or lesson plans for the upcoming school year. So before jumping in, just a couple of notes. First of all, even though my daughter is going into the 11th grade, she did take quite a few high school level courses as an 8th grader, which we did count as credit because it was high school level work and they are on her transcript. And so that has kind of shifted her timeline for some courses up by a year. So she took a high school level social studies course in 8th grade, she took a personal finance course, and she took Algebra 1. So for those particular subjects, we've kind of bumped ahead of year. So you might have a student who's going into 11th grade who might be doing math a year behind where my daughter will be doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just simply how we did things. So just something to keep in mind, that some of these courses might work not only for an 11th grader, but also for a 12th grader as well. Now, in our homeschool, we do have a couple of elective courses that we do as a group still. So with both of my teens and myself, and those courses will be discussed in a separate curriculum video that is coming out next week. Today's courses are going to be the ones that I kind of call the individual subjects that my daughter will be working on. All right, so let's kick off with science. Next year, my daughter is taking physics, and we chose Exploring Creation with Physics. This is written by Dr. Jay Wiley for Apologia. If you've watched any of my other videos where I've talked about science courses, you'll know that we really love how Dr. Wiley writes textbooks. It's very much a conversational tone where it just feels like the student is sitting down and talking back and forth with a professor. He also works a lot of real world examples into all of the chapters, which just explains the importance of what it is you're learning and helps build that understanding of different concepts. Now, one of the differences between this and with previous curriculum we've gotten from Apologia is that there is no student workbook going along with it. In earlier courses, the student workbook kind of guides the student with how to take notes and how to go about studying. And at this point, I'm guessing they feel like a student should know how to do that. There are still what they call on your own questions built in throughout the chapters. These are meant to help with learning definitions, key concepts, solving different types of problems. And of course, in physics, there's math problems. So working out those problems. But at the end of each chapter are the answers to those problems and how you get to those answers. So our plan is simply to have my daughter have a notebook and work out those problems in there, and then she can check her answers at the end of the chapter. In addition to the textbook, we also got the test and solutions kit. So tests for each module or chapter. And then the solution guide is fantastic because it not only provides the answers to the test, but explanations as to how to get to each answer. It has the same thing for the chapter review as well. So those can be just great resources for helping a student who might get stuck on a problem or not know what's the next step that they need to be looking for. You can give kind of that pinpointed guidance. The other thing that we have for this is the lab kit from Home Science Tools. So if you've not been familiar with Home Science Tools, it's a website that puts together basically lab kits for different types of curriculum. So you can go in, you can search for Apologia, you could then search for physics, you could look for which edition textbook you have, and there will be a kit of supplies that are meant to go with the labs that are in this particular textbook. It's very nice in terms of saving me time as a parent. Instead of having to run around and try to gather all of these random supplies, it's all right there in the kit. I mean, there might be a few things we have to throw in here and there, but they're typically things that we already have laying around the house, like baking soda or a pot of water and things like that. So it's nice to just have all of that stuff together. Even though there is a cost to purchasing it, the convenience and the time it saves me is well worth it. And as far as how this will appear on her transcript, so this will go on her transcript as physics, and it will be a 1-credit course or a full year course for her. Now for math, I don't have anything physical to show you because my daughter is doing an online program through Shorman Math called Pre-Calculus with Trigonometry. We have been familiar with Dr. Shorman and his teaching methods because she has used his dive tutorials that go along with Saxon Math programs. She has used Saxon Math all through middle school and the first 2 years of high school, and we like the fact that Saxon Math teaches information in little bite-sized chunks, and it has a lot of continual review. And since Shorman Math is based off the Saxon method, it seemed like a great transition from a textbook program to an online program. Now, the program will have some small reading assignments online for her each day, as well as 100 daily lessons complete with a tutorial video. And then there will be 20 practice problems for each of those daily lessons. She will work out the problems on paper and then type in her answer. And what I really like is that it gives instant feedback. If she types the answer in and it's wrong, it will tell her right away. And then it will provide her with links to go back to the video lesson or the reading or a practice problem that will show her how to go about solving that problem that she missed. And then she can make another attempt. Once she's done with the work, she hits submit. I actually get an email notification the assignment has been submitted, and it's auto-graded and put right into the grade book. So in addition to the 100 daily lessons, there are weekly quizzes, and then there are 4 quarterly exams as well. And again, it's all auto-graded. So that may be part of the reason why I chose to move my kids to the online program. Grading math, especially high school math, takes a very long time. So this is just going to be a huge time saver. And I do think it'll be helpful for her to be able to get that instant feedback on each problem as opposed to having to wait for me to go through and grade an assignment and give it back to her. Another perk of this curriculum is that my daughter also gets access to a CLEP professor course, which reviews pre-calculus concepts that are on the CLEP exam. So at the end of the year, if she would like to take the CLEP exam for college credit, she can use that portion of the course to do some review and be well prepared for that exam. As far as on her transcript, this will be a full credit course listed as pre-calculus with trigonometry. Now for English, we have a couple of different components that all together will compose her English grade, and vocabulary is always something that we include. I just feel like, especially with the SAT, ACT coming up, having a strong vocabulary component is very important. Last year, we started trialing Worldly Wise about halfway through the school year, really liked it, and decided to continue on with it. So she will be doing Worldly Wise 3000 level 11. And then in addition to the workbook, I also have the test booklet and the answer key. The way that these lessons are organized is that there's exercises A through E for each lesson and then a vocabulary extension page. And each day I just have her do one of the exercises. They're all different, which is great. Sometimes it's just matching up definitions. Sometimes it's identifying it in context, knowing about the etymology, suffixes, and root words and things like that. So it really helps her learn those words in multiple different ways and have a really good understanding of them. So that will be the vocabulary part of her course. The other part of her English course is British literature. This is from Excellence in Literature, written by Janice Campbell. Now, we utilized one of the Excellence in Literature courses during my daughter's freshman year and quite liked it. It's definitely a college preparatory course. There is some heavy reading and there is a lot of writing in this course. So because there's so much writing in this course, we're not doing any supplemental writing. We've been big fans of using IEW writing up until this point, but she is going to have quite a bit of writing assignments just from this book alone. Now you might go, that's a really tiny textbook for a high school level course. And that is true, but it doesn't work like a traditional literature program. Basically, the course is divided up into 9 modules, 9 4-week modules. And for each module, there is a book assigned. And some of them are hefty books. In fact, here I can give you the quick list of what she will be reading. So she will be reading Beowulf, Canterbury Tales, Sir Gawain and Arthurian Legends, King Lear, Paradise Lost, Pride and Prejudice, Great Expectations, Wuthering Heights, and To the Lighthouse. Those are just the basic books for the course. So there's 9 books, 1 for each module. In the course of each module, she will be given different context resources within this book for her to go and start doing some of her own research, websites and videos to go and find out more about the author, when the book was written, what was going on in society, and that can really help understand the book more. As she's reading through the books, then she will have different assignments on different weeks. It varies a little bit from week to week, but just to give you an example from one module. So these are some of the example schedule pages in here. Now you'll notice that what it does is it breaks it down by week and not by day, because your student is expected to learn self-pacing, because that's what they're going to be expected to do in college. They're going to be told that something is due on a given date, not, hey, on day 1 you need to do this and day 2 you need to do that. So what it does is it breaks it down into weeks. So for example, for module 2, when she's studying the Canterbury Tales, week 1, she's supposed to work on the study guide that's here in the textbook, start reading the book itself and looking at the context resources. And then her writing assignment is to write an author profile. Then week 2, she's supposed to finish reading, continue with the context resources, and then write a letter from a character. And then week 3, she is supposed to write the first draft of a 750-word paper, and it will tell her like what type of paper is expected there. So that would be a compare contrast essay for that particular one. And then she has weeks 3 and 4 to get that paper written, check it to the rubric, have it handed in so I can do some editing, hand it back to her, and then get the final draft in. Now this course does have some options to turn it into an honors course, which is what we did with our previous Excellence in Literature course her freshman year. The way that you turn it into an honors course is by introducing a second book for each module. So basically for each month, instead of studying just 1 book, she studies 2. For the second book, she simply has to read it and then is given 1 writing assignment about that book. Some sort of an approach paper, compare contrast essay, or things of that nature. Again, it will tell her for each module what kind of paper is expected. A tool that we'll be pulling out again this year to use with this course is the Excellence in Literature Reading and Writing Through the Classics Guide. This was an invaluable resource for her the first time she took one of their courses, and I expect her to utilize it again as she goes through British literature. It provides all kinds of information about how to really understand and pull key concepts from classics, and it also gives a lot of good information on how to write different types of papers. So as she's getting different types of assignments, she can look in here and get guidance on how it is she's supposed to format those, what some of the requirements are, how to do source citing, and things of that nature. So this handbook covers a lot of topics in writing, and they do so in a way that is very similar to how she learned them with the IEW writing programs. So given that it's so familiar in terms of how things are taught, she can easily navigate through the information in this handbook and then apply it to the papers that she's writing for the literature course. So in addition to the individual books themselves, these are all of the things that are going to make up her English course for this year. Now, because we are going to opt to do the honors option with the British literature course, on her transcript, this will be listed as Honors English 11, and it'll be a full credit, full year course. For social studies, she's doing a course from Guest Hollow called Government Economics and Personal Finance. And before you go, wait a minute, that sounds like 3 different courses. This is actually 3 different courses rolled into one program in the unique way that only Guest Hollow can do. In fact, I did an entire video on this program. It just launched back in February. I had a chance to do a preview of it and do a special introduction review video for the company. And I will link that video down below if you would like to see it. I go into really great detail in terms of how it is set up, how it's utilized, the types of things that are included in it, give you some sneak peeks of what different components of the program look like. So if you are thinking about that course, I would highly recommend checking out that video down below. But this course, yes, it does cover government and econ, but also has a personal finance component. So she's going to get a half credit 1 semester course credit for government. She'll get a half credit for econ. And then she's going to get another one for personal finance. Now, because she has already done a high school level personal finance course, and I personally, after reviewing this, feel like this goes above and beyond that, I'm going to give her a half credit in advanced personal finance. And I feel like it's really important for her to do personal finance again. I mean, she did it back in 8th grade and it was a Dave Ramsey course, which was an awesome course. But now we are that much closer to her leaving the house and being on her own and having to manage her own finances. And I feel like it's a great opportunity for her to review some stuff again and get a lot more detailed information over the course of the year. So just to show you really quick, the textbook for this program is an online textbook, and then you do get a downloadable student workbook. So I actually printed off the workbook and spiral bound it. And then as teachers, we get what is called the teacher schedule. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the course. It provides information to us as the teacher as far as what resources we should have on hand, and then how it is you go about scheduling them. Guest Hollow courses work very differently from traditional courses. What they do is they pull together different types of books and literature that your student will be learning from. They also bring together different types of documentaries, movies, YouTube videos, online activities. There's a lot of activities on a course called iCivics in this course. And through those different methods of learning, your student just kind of becomes immersed in the subjects that they are looking at. We have done multiple Guest Hollow courses in the past, loved them, and we definitely wanted to include at least one for each student in this upcoming school year. So really excited to have her jump right into this course. I do have a couple of the books on hand just to give you an idea on some of the things that she will be reading as a part of this course. We have the Cartoon Introduction to Economics. There's both the macroeconomics and the microeconomics portion. How to turn $100 into $1 million. The Money Challenge for Teens, Prepare for College, Run from Debt, and Live Generously. And Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. We also have Are You Liberal, Conservative, or Confused? Slanted, How the News Media Taught Us to Love Censorship and Hate Journalism. Free Speech and Why It Matters. And The People's Guide to the United States Constitution. Now, again, these aren't all of the books that she will be reading, and she won't read every book cover to cover. Usually we use portions of books, or there are small reading assignments broken up over multiple weeks to help her work through the different books and as we cover different topics in the course. But very excited. Definitely check out my full video about this course down below if you have a teen interested in this course. Next up is one of her elective courses. Now, she had taken a psychology course a few years ago from Seven Sisters, and she enjoyed just having that basic introduction into psychology. So looking at Seven Sisters' website, they also had a History of Philosophy in the Western World course. And so we are going to count this as a 1 credit full year course in philosophy. And she just thought it sounded interesting as far as a topic to study. So Seven Sisters is one of those curriculum companies where you don't get a physical book, you get a PDF download. And so just to show you here a little bit of what you would see, there is the PDF textbook. The assignments are worked right into the textbook. So for each chapter, there are different homework questions and a short homework assignment to do. And then you'll see for each chapter, there's also what are called enrichment activities. And these are something that you can do as an optional part of the course. You can assign some of them, or you could try to do all of them and turn it from a regular course into an honors level course. The enrichment activities can range from things from doing different types of observations to short papers to watching different types of movies or documentaries and analyzing those, but they really do help kind of round out the course. So each chapter is set up similarly, as I mentioned before, where there are a couple of pages of reading, homework questions that she'll just fill out on another paper and turn in, and then a short assignment. We will plan to do the majority of the enrichment activities, and then there is a test for each chapter as well. So those just came as a separate PDF with an answer key for me to print off. Now, because the course is only designed to be 30 weeks long, there is some wiggle room for us to be able to kind of stretch things out. You know, if an enrichment assignment looks like it's going to take her a little extra time to get done, we can easily just kind of bump things back a couple of days and still get done with the entire curriculum by the end of our 36-week school year. So I do like that it's a little bit of a shorter course and we can spread it out a bit more. If it is anything like the psychology course that she took, it is going to be very introductory in nature. You know, she's not going to be deep diving into philosophy, but just getting a general understanding of it, which I feel like would be good for her. And then if she decides she'd like to study that subject further, then we could look for a more advanced course in the future. Now, the last class my daughter is doing is actually not one that I had picked out for her. She heard me talking about this course as a possibility for my son who will be going into 10th grade. And she was like, well, that sounds awesome. Why can't I do it? And I said, well, sure. Yeah. If you don't mind having that added on, yeah, we totally do that. And this course is another one from Guest Hollow. It is their Chemistry in the Kitchen course. Now, this is not a standard chemistry course. This is more what we call like a practical chemistry course. It's teaching none of the math associated with chemistry, and it is not covering all of the different chemistry concepts that she is learning right now in her current chem course. It does teach some concepts, but it's not looking for you to understand them in super great detail. Rather, it wants you to just know the practical application of that chemistry concept. And it teaches that through doing activities in the kitchen, cooking and baking and experiments utilizing food, which my daughter loves to cook and she's done excellent in chemistry. So it just seemed like a match made in heaven. So she thought this would be a really fun course to see how the different chemistry concepts kind of come alive in the things you create in the kitchen. Now, just like all other Guest Hollow courses, there isn't a physical textbook for this class. Instead, we get a teacher schedule, which outlines which books and resources you're going to need for different weeks. It has links to online activities and a lot of free videos and different things for them to do week to week. And then it will have links to different recipes for them to create in the kitchen. So this should be a really fun course for her to do. You know, we're not looking for this to be something that feels, you know, academically heavy. This is meant to be more of a fun elective where she's still learning a lot of great information. There are, of course, different books that are assigned, small reading assignments each week. I've gotten a couple of the books on hand already, but they're books like Culinary Reactions, The Everyday Chemistry of Cooking, What Einstein Told His Cook, and Dr. Joe and What You Didn't Know, 177 fascinating questions and answers about chemistry in everyday life. So these are just a couple of the books that she'll do some readings from. Now, there is also a PDF download of a student workbook that you get when you purchase this curriculum. And just like I did with the workbook you saw for government, I plan to print it off and then spiral bind it and then have her work on those different assignments each week as well. Now, on her transcript, I do plan to count this as a full year course, so a 1-credit course, and we are going to term it as food science on her transcript. So those are our curriculum choices for my daughter's 11th grade individual courses. Now, if you'd be interested in finding out about what it is we're using for the group electives that we do with both my son and daughter together, be sure to check out my group curriculum video that will be coming out later next week. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing down below to my channel so you can continue to follow along with our homeschooling through high school journey. Thanks so much for joining me today, everybody. Happy homeschooling.